2 years after a man named Daniel vanished without a trace, his family received an audio file. The recording was brief, but the tone and the slight rasps between syllables sounded exactly like him. For relatives desperate for answers, hearing that familiar cadence hits with physical force. A voice offers a biological signature that feels like proof of life. Daniel's family represents a fraction of a much larger crisis, as missing persons cases continue to accumulate by the thousands. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area, search and rescue operators report a surge in extortionists targeting the families of the missing. Scammers use artificial intelligence to synthesize fake proof-of-life recordings, leveraging terror into ransom demands before families can verify the truth. In the current technological landscape, a voice heard over a phone line is an unreliable metric for survival. Every recorded message is a potential digital crime scene. The tools required to commit this type of fraud are mainstream. Anyone with an internet connection can access powerful, generative AI voice platforms for $1 a month. Algorithms require very little data. A model needs roughly 3 minutes of clean audio to map vocal nuances. Once fed into the system, it studies pitch variations, cadences, and speech patterns, allowing a user to have any text spoken back in the victim's voice. This accessibility has already caused measurable harm. Content creators have used these tools to synthesize the voices of deceased children, narrating their own abductions for social media views. Denise Fergus, whose 2-year-old son James was murdered in 1993, had to publicly fight to remove AI-generated videos imitating her son's voice without her consent. Because Daniel frequently posted videos online before he disappeared, his digital footprint was wide open for harvesting. To verify the recording, investigators moved past the sound of the words to analyze the microscopic digital forensics underneath them. Digital forensic experts treat an audio file with the same scientific rigor as physical evidence. They run the recording through analytical protocols used in high-stakes court cases to separate biological truth from algorithmic simulation. This is a spectrogram. It is the primary tool of the acoustic forensic expert, a visual map that graphs time against frequency to dissect the structural integrity of sound waves. When investigators examine pitch stability, human speech shows natural, continuous modulation. A real voice constantly shifts up and down in minor, fluid increments. The disputed recording of Daniel lacks that fluidity. The forensic software flags erratic, abrupt frequency jumps, spiking instantly from 336 Hz to 384 Hz. Biological vocal cords cannot snap between frequencies with that level of mathematical aggression. The analysis then moves to biomechanical resonance. Every physical human mouth and nasal cavity creates a unique acoustic signature, mapped out in the data as formants F1 through F3. An artificial intelligence does not have a physical throat. When algorithms attempt to synthesize speech, they routinely fail to align these specific resonances. In the cloned audio, the F2 and F3 formants drop to levels that a human vocal tract physically cannot produce. An algorithm can mimic the surface-level timbre of a voice, but it fails to replicate the physical biology of a human body speaking. The structural flaws extend beyond pitch and resonance. In Daniel's recording, there is a total absence of natural breathing intervals and the subtle micropauses that occur as lungs pull in air between phrases. Forensic experts classify this as acoustic sterility. It is a mathematical flatness stripped of physiological imperfections, executed with the precision of a machine. The combination of displaced formants and acoustic sterility yields an irrefutable scientific verdict. The voice claiming to be Daniel is a synthetic clone. This forensic certainty solves the immediate question of the audio, but the lack of a ransom demand reveals a deeper anomaly. Someone built this clone for a different purpose. The investigation shifted from analyzing sound waves to tracing digital footprints. Cyber experts tracked the cloned audio's origin point back through a network of proxies to a hidden, encrypted server. On that server, investigators found a directory created months before Daniel vanished. The folder was titled, "If I Disappear." Inside were hundreds of fragmented, high-quality voice recordings of Daniel reading random passages. Daniel spent the months leading up to his disappearance training a machine learning model to build a synthetic ghost of himself. This archiving aligns with the grief tech industry. Platforms allow users to upload life stories, training avatars to converse with loved ones after they're gone. Psychologists warn these tools risk keeping families tethered to an artificial reflection, interfering with natural grieving. Daniel constructed this synthetic audio as a proactive digital monument before stepping into the void. Cases like this expose a massive legal vacuum surrounding posthumous personality rights. Technology has outpaced the laws governing who controls an identity once the physical person is gone. Global governments are attempting to establish guardrails. Under India's recent IT regulations, platforms face strict mandates requiring the takedown of deceptive synthetic media within 3 hours of an order. While rapid takedown laws address symptoms of fraud, the legal question of who actually holds the rights to a human voice remains unresolved. The search for Daniel the person remains a cold case. His physical whereabouts are unknown, yet his voice persists on isolated servers as an autonomous, disembodied entity. In the era of artificial intelligence, a voice has been reduced to a dataset. Hearing someone speak confirms that their data survives. A dark room, an empty desk, and the sudden, jarring hum of a vibrating phone. For Daniel's family, that phone had been silent for years. He vanished without a trace, leaving his loved ones with nothing but unanswered questions and an agonizing, quiet absence. Grief often forces us to hold on to whatever we have left. For generations, that meant replaying an old cassette tape until the ribbon wore thin, fragile, physical echoes of a voice we fear forgetting. But then, an audio file surfaced online. It was Daniel's voice. The timbre, the cadence, the familiar warmth, it sounded perfectly human. It possessed a kind of sonic intimacy that immediately convinced his family he was still out there. The discovery triggered an immediate investigation to answer a single, terrifying question. Had a missing man finally reached out, or were they listening to a highly sophisticated digital illusion? Investigators started with the most comforting hypothesis. Perhaps Daniel intentionally prepared this recording before he disappeared. There is a rapidly growing industry built around digital legacy services. Platforms now allow people to create interactive posthumous avatars, giving families the ability to converse and hear new stories in a lost loved one's voice after they pass. These tools require heavy participation from the user while they are still alive. To build the avatar, the individual has to answer a series of highly structured, predefined prompts to meticulously craft their digital memory. The audio file sent to Daniel's family didn't match that pattern. It was spontaneous and lacked the rigid structure required by those commercial platforms, making a pre-planned legacy message highly unlikely. That led to a much darker possibility. Someone might have stolen Daniel's voice to use as a weapon. Generative AI cloning moves fast. Scrape 3 minutes of audio, rip old social media videos, perfectly replicate a vocal profile. Search and rescue advocates are warning of a disturbing trend where perpetrators synthesize the voices of missing individuals to target their already terrified families. The perpetrators will send a fabricated clip demanding ransom money. But when pressed to prove the victim is alive, they constantly make excuses to avoid putting the person on a live phone call. It is an extortion tactic that works almost entirely by weaponizing a family's hope and vulnerability against them. To confirm if this was an extortion attempt, investigators moved the recording into the forensic lab to analyze the acoustic data points that escape human hearing. This spectrogram maps the sound wave to reveal hidden anomalies. Pitch analysis showed erratic, elevated spikes, impossible for a human. Next, formants, frequencies shaped by the vocal tract, were drastically displaced, mismatching human anatomy. Finally, the quietest moments lacked breathing, dropping into total, dead digital silence. The forensic data was conclusive. The audio was mathematically flattened and entirely synthetic. Daniel was not the one speaking. The resolution to the case didn't come from a scammer's IP address, but from an old hard drive sitting in Daniel's own room. Investigators uncovered a hidden encrypted folder titled, "If I Disappear." Inside, they found a log of experimental software. Long before his disappearance, Daniel had been running early, glitchy, generative AI voice cloning scripts on his own audio. The mysterious file that had tortured his family was never a kidnapper's threat, nor was it proof that he had miraculously survived. It was an automated digital ghost. a synthetic echo generated by Daniel's own computer, left behind in the void. Daniel's case is a single reflection of a much larger crisis. Our perceptual reality has rapidly outpaced the legal frameworks designed to protect us. The justice system is unprepared to handle the digital identities of the deceased. The ability to perfectly clone someone who is no longer here has triggered intense international debate over who actually owns a person's posthumous personality rights. Governments are now scrambling to establish boundaries. India, for example, recently amended its IT rules to explicitly regulate synthetically generated information, setting strict timelines for the removal of deceptive AI clones. We are entering a reality where our most intimate identifiers can be mathematically reconstructed. And in the age of artificial intelligence, hearing a loved one's voice no longer proves they are actually there.